The Canucks are up next for the Utah Mammoth. The big question hanging over this team is, has the message been received?
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined as always by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Coming off a big 7-0 win over the Anaheim Ducks, the Utah Mammoth now have 2 games in Canada to wrap a 4-game road swing. Coming up against Vancouver and Calgary on the weekend, both of them not doing so well in the standings. But the big question is, have the Mammoth received the message? And we're going to talk about that on today's show right after I tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Robyn, players have been saying the right thing. Actually, they've been saying the right thing all season. We need to be better when they need to be better. Every guy's got to be responsible for himself. Even Andre Tourigny saying the right things. We did this, we did that. And I want to talk about one of his points, which has been one of my points the entire season. We'll get to that. But I just want to know that 7-0 pasting of the Anaheim Ducks. Is this an anomaly, or has the message been received by those who needed to hear it, and has everything changed?
The hope, Tom, is it's the latter. I feel like we're all hoping that, because what we saw in the month of November was unacceptable. To put it straightforward, it was unacceptable. Seeing that kind of, it almost seemed like apathy from some of the players. They kind of didn't care. They kind of just were whatever it was. I don't know what the effort was, what we saw there. But the hope was that there was a message received, and whoever it was that tried to get the message across, whether it was one of the players or whoever else, I do have a feeling that whether it's someone like Lawson Crouse or even Ian Cole, who's really shown to be like a leader, like he's very vocal when he talks to the media, especially. I feel like could have been one of those people to kind of help sit in the locker room and be like, yeah, we need to get our crap together.
Well, I mean, they do. That much is obvious. We know that they needed to do that, and they got it all together all at once in the Anaheim game. So now I've got some questions I want to broach here heading into the weekend. And again, those of you who are watching on the YouTube side can see that the second bullet is message received. If I had room for a third, Robyn, it would be same lineup or not, because they sat down 2 regulars in order to make room in this roster. Now, Simashev has gone down to the AHL. We're also going to talk about that a little bit later on. But the question is, Robyn, Tanev has been a non-factor pretty much the whole season. Everything they brought him in to do, obviously not score. People keep pointing that out. They're like, well, he's not here for his points. Okay, yeah, he's got to contribute in other ways. Haven't seen it. And then we also ended up having Barrett Hayton sat down. And Hayton, to be fair, has been placed in a spot that is probably above his pay grade. I think he's a third line center, but he's struggled. Yes. So now you keep them out after this win.
It almost feels like you have to right now. I feel like, you called up Daniel Bút for a reason, right? And I liked how he played in this first game against the Ducks, but they still want to see more from him, see what kind of impact he can make in a chunk of games rather than a single game. So he's going to stay in the lineup, right? So to be able to rotate people in and out that way. In addition, Spicy Tuna really showed that he's able to bring the impact a lot more than Brandon Tanev does, because right, they're similar, right? They're supposed to be similar players, supposed to bring that same kind of thing. But Tanev is actually supposed to be the, quote, more talented player, right? That's why they brought him in, because they're like, okay, we need to rely on Spicy Tuna a little bit less. We got to bring in someone like Tanev. But it seems to be the opposite. So
go ahead.
I'm gonna be curious to see if they do keep that going. If they keep those guys benched.
To me, the upside of Tanev was supposed to be speed. He was supposed to be able to get in on the forecheck. He is much quicker than Liam O'Brien.
He's turbo for a reason, right?
Right. That was the idea, is that they felt like O'Brien was a step behind. Not that he wasn't valuable, not that he couldn't be a dynamic player in his own way, but he doesn't have that kind of foot speed. Okay. But Robyn, I will still continue to argue with people that when he's been in the lineup, he has been more value. And I don't know that it's close.
There were some instances still, and I know a lot of you guys will point this out, where Spicy Tuna will go out and fight or for no reason. You know, it seems to be like some boneheaded moves, right? Some things that seem very dumb, and it happens. That's what you get out of those kinds of players, your agitators. Other people have commented. I see some people who comment who said, "Well, no one's afraid of Spicy Tuna." Sure, if you want to make that argument, okay. I'm not going to try to convince you guys otherwise. However, he still makes the impact because he's still laying out a physical presence. Either way,
you don't have to be afraid of him, Robyn, but you do have to know that if something happens, he's coming for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a deterrent. It's not fear. It is think twice. It is a deterrent to have him in the lineup. But I agree, he makes boneheaded plays, but so does everybody else out there. So yeah. I think you put him in.
He loses more than half his fights, but you know what? That's okay. I mean,
but half the time in the NHL, it's more about the effort and about standing up for your guys anyway.
Exactly.
So it's not about winning the fight. It's about fighting the fight. So you have to understand that. And that's why the respect of the room is there with players who do that. It's a really, really difficult job. So anyway, point is, I think Tanev stays out for me. I actually think I keep McBain out too. I really do. I don't think I change anything. I let this kind of ride the way it is, because in order to make room for Danny Goals in that top six, unless you're taking somebody else out of the bottom, I mean, if you think it's time to give Kevin Stenlund a rest, although they love him on faceoffs, and I understand why.
Yeah,
maybe it's time to take him out. Maybe you drop McBain in there.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Hayton.
Right. Yeah. That I knew where you were going there. But that's a possibility, and I feel like that they might gear a little towards less because of that. As you mentioned, is because Stenlund is such good on the faceoff, they'll put him in for that reason. They keep him in for that reason. But it'll be curious to see how they do put that up. But yeah, you know, Danny Goals is still going to get his minutes in the top six, get his rotation when PP2. I think that's where he was this last game. Again, there were only 2 power plays, and the second power play had a goal, right? So there was very little time even on the ice as a power play, but maybe they'll give him more opportunity. We'll see where he will be there.
Robyn, you ran a little poll on that, and it seemed like put him on the first power play was winning.
It seemed like it. And I feel like, I mean, I get it, right? I get it. I think especially because everyone probably agreed with what I was saying. Whereas like, well, power play has been so bad that why not? Right?
Yeah. I mean, it was a rough go. It has been a rough go. So I think that when you're faced with that, you make these changes, you do come out with a W, and not only a win, but an emphatic win.
7-0. I mean, yes, the majority of them were over fourth string goaltender, but you still take it when, like, you still put out that kind of effort, right? Regardless, right? And you still want to see that kind of effort regardless, because what we've seen in the past was coasting. And that's not, and that's what left this team to have these kinds of bad games, because they were coasting too much. Because they kind of, as I mentioned, they seemed apathetic. They seemed like kind of didn't care. The game against the Ducks was the opposite, where they did care.
A lot of ways to describe it, detached, listless, effortless. Like I think we used all those at some point during that kind of stretch. Well, now you're coming in against the team in Vancouver that's lost 3 in a row itself. They're struggling to find their way. They're not very good on home ice. They're one of the most penalized teams right now in the league. So can you take advantage of that? We're going to get inside of that and talk a little bit more about maybe how the Mammoth can. And I want to make a point specifically, Robyn, about the way the system is supposed to work for the Mammoth and the way they're supposed to support the puck. Because I've talked about it before. Now, all of a sudden, it's actually being highlighted once they win a game big time. And I'm going to tell you what that is here in a minute. And today's show is brought to you in part by Game Time. Did you know the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994? And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. And that's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats are open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. A lot of things that I like about Game Time we've talked about before, but this is going to be big for the World Cup. Why? Because even if you're familiar with the venue, you might not know what your seat view is going to be with a soccer pitch on it. And so that's why the seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from the exact seat you're going to buy before you buy it. This is huge because you need to know what that look is going to be in the stadium. You may have been there before. You may not have been there before, but with a soccer pitch in it, it's going to be a different seat and the view is important. I also love the prices, have all the fees in it up front, no last second surprises at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. This is Locked On Mammoth. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every single day. When it comes to this Utah Mammoth hockey team, we know you have a lot of choices. And we know you listen to more than a few different podcasts out there. But Robyn, numbers don't lie. You know, if we were playing a sport, we'd say ball don't lie, puck don't lie. Well, pod don't lie. We appreciate the support. The everydayers, you guys, we see you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
If everyone interacting with us on social media, a couple of you guys sharing that we're in your top 3 of podcasts on your Spotify Wrap this year. Even another telling me that that you are of the top 0.1% of our listeners on YouTube. You guys are awesome.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome.
Fantastic. Seriously, thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you. We literally could not do this without you. If nobody was listening, Robyn and I would both be out of a job. So, all right. Talking about the Canucks game coming up here, Robyn. They haven't been doing so well lately. The Ducks actually have been doing well, but the Mammoth did something we've been talking about for a while. And I'm not going to talk about the forecheck here, believe it or not. And I think some people might have supposed I was. No, I'm going to talk about puck support. This is something you and I have discussed in the past. And when it comes to, Andre Tourigny and I call it different things. Mm-hmm. For me, I will say Puckside high. Now, Tom, what the heck is Puckside high? Okay, so that means wherever the puck is on the wall, that you are between where that pile is as the extra man in, you're between that pile and your defensive goal. That is supporting the puck high. I am generally not a fan, unless there is a set play on, of Puckside low, because that puts you further away from your defensive responsibilities and you are really cheating the game and the system. When you support Puckside high, you can jump in, even if you have to become the extra man into the pile. If someone else joins that pile, you are pushing down the wall towards the offensive end from where you're joining automatically. So you get the momentum going in that direction. And if the puck pops out to you, Puckside high support, you have now the ability already, you've got a little bit of time and space to try to create a little bit more. And I think that is something the Mammoth finally did consistently throughout an entire hockey game for a change. And look at how well it works. I've been talking about it for a long time, but Robyn, I felt like that was one of their best puck support games I've seen in a very long time.
And after what we've seen, I'll say it again, right? After what we saw in November, it feels like a breath of fresh air, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's nice.
Now, can they keep it up?
Well, isn't that the question? Yes, that is why. And you know what? We talked about the energy of the youth movement here kind of coming in and trying to, move things in the right direction. Maybe that is what they needed. Maybe they needed a little shot of the youthful enthusiasm, Robyn, because it seemed to pick everybody up. And I thought they had a much better game. And they had some precision passing in this game. They had good puck movement in this game. I don't know. Maybe this is a bigger question. Oh my, I'm going to open a can of worms. You ready? Should maybe they look at moving on from some of the older core? And by the older core, I mean the guys who've been here for a while, who maybe don't necessarily need to be here anymore. I don't mean physical age older. Like I like Ian Cole. I like Nate Schmidt. He just got here. I don't mean physical age. I mean time spent with the team. That's a big old can of worms.
Oh yeah, no, because there's a lot of players who you could who you can go on those deep dives with and figure it out and say, okay, well, you have this kind of players coming in, this kind of support, because there's, to be honest, Tom, watching, like, just seeing highlights, by the way, and it was going to be this is a little bit of a side tangent, but seeing highlights, by the way, what's going on in the CHL makes me so excited for this team.
Yeah, there's a very bright future. And look, it's going to take a few years for most of these players to transition to an NHL full-time role, but rookies can make an impact. Second-year players can make an impact. I mean, look at the Sharks. Look at the Ducks. Look at the Chicago Blackhawks. Look at these teams. Mm-hmm. Having those younger players chipping in, making an effort. Now, can they sustain it all season long? I don't know. Jury's out. Remains to be seen. Generally, history has told us no. But Robyn, this is where if you keep the right savvy veterans and you move on from the rest, that's how you build a proper core while making room for everybody.
It's part of the science of running a hockey team. Like, it's like everyone says, oh yeah, it's part of the science of running any sports team, sure, but I'll add this: is hockey is the only one where the salary cap is as hard as it is.
Yeah, baseball, it's kind of a, well, we know you're going to spend more than this, and we're just going to charge you more money to do it.
Yeah, where basketball is pretty similar. It kind of has it also does luxury tax and whatever, and like it does still have a hard cap, but you still go over it. Like, well, yeah.
I think football is the wildest west of Wild West sports out there because nobody's contract is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
You can cut a guy for any reason at any time, and that's crazy to me.
And this is what makes
that's
hockey.
Also why that's why guys hold out. But that's why hockey 8-year deals are so important, that you get it right because you're married to that deal.
And if you feel like you need to move on from that deal, and it's something that teams are like, well, it's not a great contract, and you have to eat that salary as a retained salary if you need to get it unloaded in a trade.
Yeah.
Even if that player retires, you still have to eat that salary. Like, that's...
Our longtime everydayers are very well acquainted with that. So, Robyn, I know we gotta hit a break here. I do want to talk a little bit more about this Canucks matchup that's coming up in Calgary as well into the weekend here, and also want to get back to talking something about the lineup here for you as well. Stay tuned.
And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. The holidays are amazing, but they can also get overwhelming fast. Travel, gifts, parties, year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year, and that's why Monarch has become such a game changer for me. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, simple dashboard. I know for me, I take a look at some things I have coming up in the next few months, not just the holidays. I got gifts to get for some younger family members. I got travel to worry about because I got to go back from Arizona to California and all over the place. Not to mention for other vacations, whether it's in Canada or whether it's in Minnesota, whether it's in Oregon, wherever I've been in the last couple of years, it's hard to keep track of those kinds of things. In minutes, you can just check your net worth, link all your accounts, keep track of those contributions before your deadlines, and just make your money work for you. It's great for couples, those shared dashboards, the goals, and see how much did we spend in those kinds of conversations. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code LOCKEDONNHL.
Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. Robyn, can I take a moment and freak out everybody who loves Olympic hockey by telling you the rink might not be ready?
It's so weird. Like, I saw that, Tom, and I was like, this is going to be interesting.
You know,
and
what's
of course,
nuts? Go ahead.
And then of course, they're saying where the rink is going to be shorter by 4 feet.
Right. Yep. It's going to be shorter. Usually Olympic ice is like 200 by 100. And now it's going to be 196 feet long and who knows how wide. Robyn, the other thing that grabbed me was that Elliot Friedman. So I was kind of digging into this here while I was just reading during the commercial break. Elliot Friedman says there's no plan B. There's no plan B if this rink isn't done. That's crazy. So if they don't get the rink done, they have no backup plan. What are we going to do? We're just going to scratch hockey?
Did you see the comments where the players who were on the team are essentially going to celebrate Fashion Week in Milano?
I can
just walk around through Milano, just.
Well, now that there's no dress code, they can do it all the time in their home rinks.
Right? That would be the most upsetting thing ever, though. As someone who just who just loves hockey this much, and also who just hasn't. We haven't seen NHL players in the Olympics in a long time.
I seriously wonder how they're going to deal with that. I really do. So we'll figure that one out. So Robyn, one thing I also wanted to cover with you here with this Utah Mammoth team. So they made the changes. They have kind of shuffled things around a little bit. There are some players, I think, who are getting a little bit pushed to the back burner. So the other thing that I talked about, and I even threw this out there on Twitter and Blue Sky the other day, it feels a little bit to me like the Mammoth might be looking to move some of these players, at least one of the players, but maybe not more. Now, look, there have been a lot of national reports saying, oh, we hear they're going to be active. We hear they're going to be this, or they're going to be that. That's fine. I'm not talking about the deadline. I'm talking about right now. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of what I alluded to in the last segment is maybe moving on from some of these bodies that they have that just aren't finding a useful home right now. And
it seems that, not to single any single person out, but I mean, I'm going to say it anyways, right? Because it's been noted in our comments, been noted in social media, is this team ready to move on from Olli Määttä?
He was big time get last year.
Huge. And he played incredibly well. I think especially he even stepped up in a whole new way after Four Nations too, where it showed okay, he's showing up.
Yeah, he was great. And he's in his early 30s. So he's not as old as Cole or Schmidt, but he's clearly been supplanted by them. And with the lack of injuries this year, only Dursey missing significant time. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm thankful for that. And Nick DeSimone has kind of played his way into this rotation on a regular basis to the point where Simashev does get sent down. And now Määttä hasn't seen the light of day in a while. Robyn, it's clear he's not in the current coaching staff's plans.
I mean, if you take a look at it, what this team did is they was also seemed to be a bit of a necessity, but based off just doing whatever kind of shakeup they needed. But also, it tells you something in the fact that this team called up Maverick Lamar and played him and suited him up in the game against Anaheim. And honestly, I think we should see him suit up against Vancouver still, right? I feel like Lamar played so well against Anaheim.
He didn't look out of place, just jumped right in, just like he did last year. Jumped right in, gave him serviceable minutes. He eventually did run out of gas, but he looked good last night. I don't have any reason to not trust his game based on what we saw. Like I said, I don't change anything. When you win 7-0, I don't change anything. Even if you were planning on starting Vanacek, I wouldn't. Go right back to veg. Like, do not change a thing for the game against the Canucks. And then on the, if you want going to Calgary, I guess you could put Vanny in there, but I wouldn't change anything at this point. Yeah, I think that was about as complete a game as we've seen.
Keep the same lineup and play your, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Earlier last month, before, like, when the skid was just starting, I'm like, just play your game, right? Just play your game. Don't worry about anything else. And here's the thing. Everyone already knows, because, this is Vancouver, right? Everyone knows there's going to be an agitator on the other side of the ice, right? Everyone knows who Evander Kane is at this point.
Yep.
Like, so you have to be ready. Yeah, you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready because he's that kind of player who will try to stir up some crap.
Yep. Robyn, would you like some nuggets for the Anaheim game?
Okay.
Sorry. You can finish your point if you want.
But the point I was getting, and I was just saying, just don't let that get to you and play your game.
Yes. Yeah, don't be goaded into anything. Okay. Nuggets for you. Number one, the Utah Mammoth were the first team this season to hand the Ducks a loss by 3 or more goals. Nugget number 2, those 7 goals that they scored tied their high. They scored 7 earlier this season, but they have never won a game by 7 goals. That is a franchise first. Also a fun nugget for fans of Utah Mammoth Nuggets. And now I'm forgetting my third nugget, Robyn. There was a third nugget in there. Let's see. The goal differential. Oh, and Danny Goals becomes the first forward to make his NHL debut in Mammoth history. There have been 3 skaters, but they were both defensemen. The first forward to make his NHL debut as a Mammoth, Daniel Bút. So there you go. Those are my numbers.
I like it.
I knew it would come to me. So this is why you stay to the end of the show. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's dad jokes.
I also do want to point out that I do feel like the longtime fans, those who came from Arizona, might be a little upset on Danny Goals' number. But again, different franchise. You can do it. Right?
Right.
But
when they stick a team back in Phoenix, because they will, you
that
are going to pick right back up where you left off.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like when a team comes back in Phoenix, 19 is not going to be used. But
right.
In the meantime, fair game, right?
Yeah, it's Utah now. So yeah, they have 1+ seasons of team history. So, but I mean, it's not like he's trying to wear 99, which you can't do anyway because it's retired for the whole league.
You can't wear 99. Can't wear 66. Can't wear 69, which is unwritten one.
You would look pretty silly, even if it wasn't retired, if you tried to take 99 or 66. Right? I mean, people would look at you and be like,
really?
Really? You think you're that guy?
Also, and again, also 69, because people love to put some kind of innuendo in there, and I'm like, it used to be a popular number. I think they started. I forgot when they started phasing that out. At least a couple players.
As a goaltender, you're big, you're wide. That's a wide number. You can wear that. That's why I actually like Vasilevsky wearing 88. I think that looks good. It's nice and wide.
There you go.
So I like 00. I wish they would let you wear 00. You cannot wear 00 anymore. Okay, one more nugget. Last NHL goaltender to ever wear 00 in an NHL game. Marty Baron with the Buffalo Sabres. His rookie year when he got called up from the queue from Hull. His first game as I think he was 17. He wore 00. Then Robyn, when they called him back up the next time, I think it was probably the next season, he could no longer wear 00 because the NHL said you can't wear that as a number anymore. And that's how it became 43.
Interesting.
There you go. So, all right. Anything else you want to drop in there?
No, I just got to say, Utah's got to take advantage of a struggling Vancouver team, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, is what we've seen from inconsistency is they can't just play down to them or whatever it is. They like what we saw against Anaheim, right? Yeah, like all gas, right? You want to see all gas from this entire team, no matter what. Because at this point, based off how the kind of month that they had in November, just about everything matters.
Robyn, I think since they started 8-2, they've gone something. I think it's 5-10-3. I think it's 5-10-3.
It's what was even crazier too is when you put out the stat that said they pretty much had the inverse, like them and the Sharks inversed, right? On their November records, like from their October records, and like that shows you something. Where the Sharks for a brief moment passed the Mammoth in the into a playoff spot up until during the same time that the Utah beat the Anaheim 7-0. I believe they lost to Washington like 6-0 or something like that. That was so.
Yeah, the Capitals are on a tear right now.
Oh yeah, but so Utah got those 2 points back, essentially back over San Jose. But
well, let's hope they can build that cushion back up. And we'll see if they do just that. And
they
absolutely need to. Yep. Vancouver and Calgary here on the weekend. So Robyn and I will catch back up with you guys early part of next week. But in the meantime, if you have comments for us, if you want to reach out to us, you can always find us on social media. Robyn, where can they find the show?
You can find us everywhere on social media at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. Primarily active on Twitter. You can find me personally also there at Robyn_Leaño. You could message me. You can mention me, you can do whatever, and I'll get back to you. I like to get back to you as soon as I can. Sometimes within like a day, maybe a couple days at the most, because I'm always there. But if you have any questions, let's either one of those to reach me personally and the show.
You can find me on Blue Sky at Tom Talks, and on Twitter. I have to apologize to everybody on Twitter. Robyn, my at Callahan on air account, I had like no notifications for almost 2 weeks. And then somehow yesterday, it's like somebody stopped squeezing the hose and let it go, and all the water came through. I got a bunch of notifications, some literally as old as 2 weeks ago. So I apologize if I didn't respond to you, but for whatever reason, I don't know if my app updated or what the heck happened. I just finally got a lot of those. So yeah, Robyn is much more timely and on top of the ball there. And I do apologize because I know a couple of you did engage with me. And so that's on me. So, all right, everybody. Well, fingers crossed that things go well, because, hey, this could be a 3-1 road trip. And if it is a 3-1 road trip, perhaps Utah is back on the road to having it figured out. So for Robyn, I'm Tom. We'll talk to you next time on Locked On Mammoth.